All right, shifting our focus to Maharashtra political crisis. The Shinde camp has now moved the Supreme Court in a case. In fact, the Shinde camp now urgently seeking a hearing from the Supreme Court. Are seeking to hear the matter likely tomorrow. This is their petition that they've appealed for the Supreme Court for an urgent intervention. Two petitions have been filed in the Supreme Court by the Eknath Shinde camp. One challenges the notice that the Deputy Speaker has issued, and that notice speaks of disqualification of at least 16 rebel MLAs. So they're challenging that disqualification notice issued by the Deputy Speaker. And on the other hand, another petition now that's been filed against the appointment of Chaudhary as the leader of the legislative party. Remember, earlier Eknath Shinde was the man who was the leader of the legislative party, but now Maharashtra's Deputy Speaker approves Ajay Chaudhary as the Shiv Sena legislative party leader, which now the Shinde camp has objected to. They filed a petition with the Supreme Court against this appointment of Chaudhary now being the legislative party leader. Shinde camp before the Supreme Court. Shinde camp challenges the appointment of Ajay Chaudhary as Shiv Sena legislative party leader and also rejection of the no confidence motion against the Deputy Speaker. On the other hand, the Shinde camp further asking the Supreme Court to direct the Deputy Speaker not to take any action on disqualification plea against them until the motion of removal of Deputy Speaker now is decided. Further, they have also asked for direction to the Maharashtra government to provide security to the family of those rebels who are currently under threat. Shinde camp has approached the Supreme Court today, the registry, for urgent listing of this plea, at least tomorrow at the earliest. Anisha Mathur joining us for a little update on that. Anisha, this was inevitable. Shinde camp approaching the Supreme Court. Give us the points on the petition.
Well, Nabila, two petitions as of now have been moved by the Shinde camp, one in the name of Eknath Shinde himself and the other by Sena leader Bharat Singh Gogawale, who's one of the rebel MLAs, who have challenged two things in particular. One, that the disqualification notice that has been issued by the Deputy Speaker to the rebel MLAs, there should be no proceedings on that till their plea regarding the appointment of the Deputy Speaker itself is heard. Secondly, what they've said is that Ajay Chaudhary could not have been appointed as the leader of the legislative party because, according to them, they have the majority of the MLAs of the Shiv Sena. They have the support of the majority, and therefore no decision by the legislative party could have been taken. Now, at the moment, what we're being informed is that their lawyers are trying to get the Supreme Court registry to list this matter for urgent hearing tomorrow morning. At this moment, they're still waiting for a response from the registry, but very clearly, the Shinde camp approaching the Supreme Court first, trying to get their point across, trying to get some relief from the apex court. And if we see the history of such cases in India, in the Maharashtra case in 2019, in the Karnataka case, in the Goa case, or any other cases where there have been such rebellion by MLAs, or there have been such breakaway camps, the Supreme Court has always said that there must be a floor test on the floor of the House to see who exactly has the numbers, who has the powers. But at the moment, their petitions are saying that their petitions are saying just these two things, that Ajay Chaudhary could not have been appointed as a Shiv Sena legislature party leader, and Deputy Speaker should not take any action on the disqualification plea. In addition, they've also said that they fear that there could be some threat to them and their families, and therefore they've asked for security to the family of all of these MLAs. But we'll have to wait and see whether the Supreme Court agrees to hear this matter tomorrow. Back to you.
All right. You know, Anisha, stay with us. We also have Vidya joining us along with Palmi. Vidya, at this point, we're looking at petitions filed in the Supreme Court, which was inevitable. But this comes soon after the lawyer of Uddhav Sena came out, Devdutt Kamath, spelt out the actual legalities on how the Shinde camp cannot escape disqualification notice. They've got to respond to the notice at least by tomorrow evening, 5:30 p.m. That's the deadline, we believe. But even before that day could arrive, here is the Shinde camp rushing to the Supreme Court. Was expected, but do you think this will hold any water?
Nabila, the preparations for these petitions had already started way beyond, before Devdutt Kamath actually held the press conference today. The petitions were ready and were filed, and were, in fact, the other side, that is Devdutt Kamath himself, has also been served a notice so that tomorrow they do not have to be served with the petition. Then they will take time to read it and go through it and things like that. So formalities for the hearing have already taken place, as Anisha herself was also stating. Of course, Devdutt Kamath and the entire team will also be representing the Uddhav Thackeray-led Shiv Sena, and the Deputy Speaker also would be represented in the court, of course, bearing the fact that the petition would be served on all these parties. Of course, the hearing would take place depending on whether the judges are willing to urgently hear the matter, or would want to get the entire, the affidavits filed, the basic proceedings completed in this before the actual arguments take place. So it all depends on the bench before it goes, before the hearing really happens. But at this juncture, both the parties, both the factions, the Shiv Sena led by Eknath Shinde as well as the Shiv Sena led by Uddhav Thackeray, really hoping that the legalities work in their favor. The fact remains that the outcome in these hearings will certainly impact the entire political outlook of Maharashtra. The floor test, as Anisha was mentioning, might certainly be, as one of the things that would really happen because of the proceedings also. At this moment, the floor tests have not been done as yet. So it remains to be seen what exactly happens there in the hearing, which will then determine what happens in Maharashtra politics in the next coming week, per se.
Yeah, all right, stay with us. I'm going to cut across to Polami, who's right there in Guwahati, outside that resort. Polami, what's the churn that happened in that Guwahati resort that we see the rebel camp rushing to the Supreme Court with their two petitions? This comes soon after Uddhav Thackeray's lawyer for the Shiv Sena, Devdutt Kamath, spelled out explicitly on how these rebel MLAs cannot escape from disqualification. Soon after that, we hear a petition has been now filed in the Supreme Court. Anything happened inside? What kind of discussions did ensue?
Well, what they anticipated is, because the Deputy Speaker, of course, their own allegation, the Deputy Speaker belongs to the NCP. It is a possibility that the Deputy Speaker would go ahead and disqualify them eventually. And hence, they've tried to preempt that and gone to the Supreme Court in order to put a stop to that. That is their plea before the Supreme Court right now, that the Deputy Speaker, who himself faced a no-confidence motion, again, something that the Deputy Speaker already has dismissed their petition of a no-confidence motion filed against him on the 22nd of June on the basis that he had, of course, removed Eknath Shinde as the leader of the legislative party of the Shiv Sena and appointed Ajay Chaudhary in this place. They had moved a no-confidence motion against him. He dismissed it, saying, no, this seems to have come from some random email address. I don't even know who's written to me. So this stands dismissed. They have challenged that and said, we challenge that, and because there is a no-confidence motion against him, he's not qualified. He's a member of the Legislative Assembly as well. There's a no-confidence motion against him. He's not qualified to disqualify anyone else. So they've gone out on all fronts possible, challenging Ajay Chaudhary's appointment, challenging the dismissal of their no-confidence motion against the Deputy Speaker, asking for a stop to be put to the disqualification notices, which have in fact landed in the Deputy Speaker's office, for which they've received summons, and of course seeking additional direction to the Maharashtra government to provide security for their families on the ground. Nabila.
Pallavi, when was the notice for disqualification issued against the rebel MLAs? Yesterday?
Yesterday it was issued, and the timeline given was 48 hours. So they have until Monday, which is tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. to file in their written responses. Their argument was, this is too soon. We need 7 days time at least. 2 days and 48 hours is not what you can give us. But that was the technical argument. Like I said, otherwise they anticipated, because the Deputy Speaker belongs to the NCP, it's only a matter of time. He will just, even if you file written responses, he's probably going to say unsatisfactory, you stand disqualified. So they preempted that and gone straight to the Supreme Court Court saying,
yeah, but they've appealed to the Supreme Court close to 24 hours after the issuance of the disqualification notice, raising, of course, questions on whether they also are slightly uncertain about the options they have legally. Anisha, would you be able to corroborate that? At this point, it's already been 24 hours since the Speaker issued a disqualification notice. As much as they've acted all cool and calm and composed, the rebellion camp today, 24 hours later, post Devdutt Kamath coming out and spelling how they can't escape disqualification, now they've rushed to the Supreme Court. Where do you think their petition will really stand in terms of the Supreme Court intervening with immediate effect? Do you think this will be considered on an urgent basis?
Well, Nabila, we'll have to wait and see what the registry of the Supreme Court says, whether the judges are willing to take up this matter on an urgent basis. But as Paulami and Vidya said, that these MLAs have rushed to the Supreme Court with all guns blazing. They've raised all the aspects of the issues that are there in Maharashtra right now, whether it is the disqualification, whether it is the Deputy Speaker's appointment, whether it is the Legislative Party leader's appointment. They have raised all of these issues and they are hoping to get some sort of relief. But as we were discussing earlier, if you see the history of such cases, in the Karnataka case in 2018, in the Maharashtra government formation case in 2019, in the Goa case, in the Rajasthan case, in Arunachal Pradesh case, every single time, instead of looking into the question of disqualification or non-disqualification, the Supreme Court has first of all said that whatever happens in the House has to be decided on the floor of the House. And this is very basic tenet of the law.
Direct them for a floor test.
The House has to happen on the floor of the House. There must be a floor test to determine who is in power and who exactly has the authority to make any decisions. And at the moment, since we also have this entire factionalism happening in the Shiv Sena, where these MLAs have claimed that they are the real Shiv Sena, and the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena is they have separated from the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena. What will happen to their disqualification? Can they be considered a legitimate breakaway political group? That is something that will have to be considered as per evidence later.
And besides, it's for the Election Commission to decide on whether they can be, in fact, whether they can be given all rights of the Shiv Sena party. The rebel faction can be considered as the real Shiv Sena. It's for the Election Commission to decide based again on some criteria and protocols on that. Vidya, maybe give us some clarity on that. Vidya, first question is what's setting Eknath Shinde back when it comes to asking for a floor test? Why is he not coming out and saying let's go in for a floor test if he really has the numbers? What's stopping him from staking claim? That's what leaves us suspicious on whether his words are, well, you know, even whatever the suspicion here, the visuals speak for itself. He's got the numbers and that's understood. It's there, the visuals very clearly say that he's got close to 38 Shiv Sena MLAs while he's got about 10 independents supporting him. Very easily he could come and take away the floor test to his advantage.
But remember, it has to be as what? Like he is not a Shiv Sena. He has to prove that he is the original Shiv Sena and not the Uddhav Thackeray-led government. The Shiv Sena is not the original Shiv Sena. He has to take on the command of the party before doing that. You know, or he has to merge with either of BJP or the the other Prahar party. So either of it has to happen. He cannot just be an independent entity in himself and say that I'm demanding a floor test. So there are various nitty-gritties to this entire equation that is unfolding in Maharashtra. Yeah. It's not as simple, and that's the reason why.
No, so then Vidya, why don't you help us understand what's stopping? Help us understand then what's stopping Eknath Shinde from merging with the BJP. Does that go against his narrative that he wants to stay true to Balasaheb Thackeray's ethos and ethics? Does that defy the entire narrative that he is now unleashed? Is that what's stopping him?
Precisely. He cannot and will not join the BJP. In fact, of the two devils that he has in front of him, he could actually join with the Prahar party, but not with the BJP, because it is the BJP which is being seen as the party which has taken the entire Shiv Sena away. Now, with the BJP being the bigger enemy amongst the most Shiv Senics that are across, in Maharashtra, it will certainly not look good on the part part of Eknath Shinde to join BJP. Moreover, he has been saying completely all the time that he is a Shiv Sainik. Even now, he is stating he is not leaving the party. He is still saying that he owes his allegiance to Balasaheb Thackeray and that he will not leave the party. But he just wants the original Shiv Sena, the entire Shiv Sena, the Uddhav Thackeray-led Shiv Sena to accept that they do not want to go with the MVA but to go with the BJP. Now that's not really happening. So since that is not happening, there has to be a mid-path which has to be drawn in by both these factions of the Shiv Sena to either survive, or if they really want to disintegrate, then Eknath Shinde has to find a route out to find out as to what is his political career ahead, whether he can be a part of BJP, whether he can be a part of Prahar, or he will let go of his MLA-ship and go in for election again and come back in a new term. So all those things will have to be decided by the Eknath Shinde faction.
So it's quite evident that on either side it's not going to be easy. Even the Uddhav camp or neither the Eknath Shinde camp, both of them are not finding this so easy. They may have expected this to be, especially Eknath Shinde may have expected that since he has the numbers, this could be a easy victory for him and his camp, but clearly there are legal complications here which even Uddhav Thackeray's team is now exploring. So on both sides, both camps remain defiant and are ready to fight. Thank you very much. Our reporters joining us from different parts of the country, giving us the latest updates, the most accurate, the most in-depth.